Hey, y'all. Hey, Ray.
How you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
Listen, no complaints. How has your day been today?
It has been amazing, busy, but always, I won't say always good, but good. How about you?
No complaints at all. It's Wednesday. I look forward to Nightcap because even from behind the scenes, there's so much I take. So to actually be in front of this is a little nervous on one end.
Yes.
I'm still looking forward to a great conversation. You have some amazing guests here tonight. So I'm honored to be on this side of the production side for tonight's Nightcap.
Listen, y'all, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Bishop is not here tonight, so it's me and Ray. We have a guest host. So if you're just not tuning in, please like and share because tonight is going to be good. We're talking about social media and its effects on your mental health. We've all been there, so you don't want to miss it. Tag your homegirl, tag your homeboy, tag them all. Let's get them all in here. We want interactive conversation tonight. We want to know how social media has affected you all mentally. And if it's affected you in a positive way, we want to know that too. Because I think a twofold perspective is good. But nevertheless, a lot of you all hear us talk about Ray. Ray is on the other side today. And so, Ray, tell us about who you are and why you are a part of today's segment.
Wow, thank you so much. Listen, I'm Ray. I'm the Ray from behind the scenes. I feel like Brother Man from the fifth floor that I'm honored. I get the unique privilege to serve as the online connections pastor at the St. Paul Church of Jacksonville with Bishop Guns, and I get an opportunity every week to participate in Nightcap with the doctors.
Yes, with the doctors.
With Dr. John and Dr. Sharice. And so I'm excited tonight to be able to be with on this side of the camera as we talk about social media. Obviously, I love technology, hence online connections, Pastor.
Yes.
But what's amazing is, I think what's amazing, Dr. Sharice, is that it isn't just my perspective, but you have two other guests who in their profession, this is what they do. So you don't just get my opinion. There are two people who this is what they do, this is what they know. And so as the doctors say every week, go ahead and tag some people, share this. You don't want to miss this conversation.
You do not want to miss it.
Two amazing people. And let's jump right in.
It's going to be rich. Listen, up next are two amazing individuals. I am going to allow them to introduce themselves. And while they're doing that, tag a friend. Here. Hey guys, welcome to Nightcap.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pastor DK, I like your jacket.
You know, we got to always represent for the home team. To God be the glory. I would dare to say that Jesus was an alpha.
Help, Lord. Not Jesus was an alpha. Help us, Lord.
You still here?
He froze the screen.
It froze. He'll be back. Dr. Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
Nightcap.
Well, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
You are so welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm Dr. Mia Wilson. I am a licensed mental health counselor for the state of Florida, and I'm also a licensed professional counselor for the state of Georgia. I've been in the counseling field for it's been 21 years this month. I know, right? Where did the time go? I'm also a certified addiction professional. I'm also nationally certified. And I'm also a certified traumatologist. I have worked in with the military, with the hospitals, on probably a lot of community mental health centers, and now I'm in private. I've been in my own private practice for the past 15 years.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm not only a therapist, I'm also a boss lady.
You get my therapist. Mm-hmm. Get me a third therapist. Well, listen, Pastor DK obviously was having some streaming issues, but he'll be back on. It happens. It's technology, but we're going to jump into the segment. I have a question because we're talking about mental health and social media. Mm-hmm. What is the correlation, Dr. Wilson?
So, like you had alerted to earlier, there's some good parts of it, and then there's some bad parts of it. So you have like the good and the bad and the ugly, right? Like with anything. Probably one of the best things about social media, it did allow us to have connection. Especially during the pandemic, it wasn't something that was foreign to us. It maybe for some group of people, but it was already there. And then we had to use it more, but it gave us an opportunity to be able to, even when we had to quarantine, to be able to connect with one another. I'll give you a good example. My cousin who lives in New Jersey, she was getting her certification as a yoga instructor. So she did a Zoom yoga class. And so I was able to join her, while she was, and she's in New Jersey, wow. So I surprised her and I joined her yoga class. So it actually gave us that able to connect with people and stay connected. We would continue to have our businesses go on, in school, right? In school and all of that. Mm-hmm.
Please don't think I'm being rude. I am tagging people that need to be a part of this.
You're fine.
But in the correlation between social media and mental health was amazing, and I want to dig deep into that. But before we do, Pastor is back. Pastor DK, tell us about who you are.
You're muted, sir.
Usually people don't have to tell me that, but thank you, Brother Ray. I'm one of the campus pastors and disciples of the community church. I'm the husband of one wife and 4 children here in Dallas, Texas. One wife. I don't have many. I'm not Derek Jackson. Praise the Lord. We're going to go there. I'm here for all of that.
Yes.
And I usually, when people ask me to come and have a conversation with them, it's to discuss the intersections between theology and technology. And so, of course, I'm a degreed student. In my 3rd year to get my MDiv, so all that kind of stuff. I'm just a cool old dude who loves God and His people. So I'm glad to be here with y'all. I hope y'all ain't gonna be stuffy Christians because I don't have time for that.
Oh Lord.
We're gonna go up. We're gonna go up.
I gotta ask you.
He's Bishop number 2 right now.
Listen, I've had the opportunity to be in several rooms that Pastor DK has been a part of. I promise you, we're in for a treat tonight, Dr. Sharice. I promise you.
Wow.
Every room lit.
You know what? Lit. People don't say lit anymore. Right?
Well, I'm almost 40, so what's the word now?
It's something, but it ain't lit.
Brother, I'm not gonna let the sisters gang up on you tonight. We'll work. I'm gonna support you. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us what the correlation is between social media and mental health.
Okay. So let's backtrack.
Okay.
I'm a part of the school where it was no social media. And kids had to go outside and play and make friends and be social and things of that nature. And then I'm a part of that school where, Al Gore creates the internet. And everybody in his creation of the internet that this was some far-fetched idea that would not bring us together in connectedness and community, right? And so I'm also a part of when Facebook rolled out. First, in my hometown, few of the first people kind of using it, Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a beta tester on all these other kind of applications. And I give that background because what I've seen is social media replace social interaction.
Mm.
Let me drive that differently. So back in the Gap, when I was coming up and I was out there in the streets, I was for the streets at one time in my life.
For the streets.
When I consider this, you had you had to talk to cool. You had to talk to a young lady, a woman, straight up. You had to catch her, whatever you doing, run after her, get her attention that way. Now, social media has progressed where it's moved this barrier away, and we can go down in the DMs and get our business taken care of that way. And so I've seen that progression, and I've seen how Instagram has made models out of people who had nothing. I've seen. Let's just go all the way there. They made these models. And watch this. Let's go here too. And they made gurus who don't have degrees. They have nothing. And they're just so happen to come out of anywhere, and everybody just wants to listen to them. And they have been dubbed the said person and the expert in the room. When I have doctors on this line that are way more qualified to tell you about your life than this fool that barely got their high school diploma. Praise the Lord and hallelujah. So I've seen these things unfold. Now, how does that impact us? I think that impacts us interpersonally, right? That kind of covers that interpersonal impact. But how does it impact us spiritually? So how now we have this social media that has created it, and now we have to run church through social media.
Wow.
So we have our interpersonal skills have gone down.
Yes.
Uptick on the interaction on internet has gone all the way up. I've seen some positive things. Man, I talked to my wife in the DMs. That's how I pushed up right in that DM. Now I did meet her before, but I went boldly to the DM to do what I had to do. And so those are some of the impacts I think that it's had. And now, we're starting to see people kind of being unfolded and truth being found out about people that was once we thought were one way, they operate in another. We're starting to see entanglements on social media. All of these things are happening. We're starting to even see preacher, pastors, leaders kind of get a brunt of that too if they didn't handle their business correctly. So the internet, while the interconnects have brought us in community, it has also sped things along the way extremely fast that we wouldn't be able to see.
So my question then becomes about the statistics.
Talk about it.
Ray.
Okay.
You're a numbers guy.
Absolutely.
How many more women are there on social media than there are men?
Well, I think the exact number I couldn't tell you, but let's just look at it from an advertising standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is catered because the truth is women by and large overall are more interactive than men are, period.
Right.
So when we look at advertising, when we look at how things are marketed, they're marketed to women. I think here's the danger. I'll be honest with you. And I think DK hit on it when we talk about the difference between men and women, is it becomes this silent competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, because as both Dr. Wilson and DK has alluded to, I can be anybody I want to online.
Mm-hmm.
So for women, what we see is, and here's the thing that I don't like, we see a competition where we're trying to sell the women, but then to men, we see the objectification of the women. So you get on your timeline, they're going to market to you things that you want, that they feel like you want based off of your Google history, which is a whole nother conversation.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're going to show me a woman who's scantily dressed because I'm a male, they've automatically assumed that I want to see you objectified.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And it goes back to when we talk about mental health. It drives a erotic and euphoric thing in the man, because what we're seeing in our thread of women is we're not seeing the successful. We're seeing, as you put it, DK, that Instagram model.
Yeah.
You're saying the sheep for the streets.
Absolutely. All the streets.
And right to that point, that framework has people thinking that that's what they need to do to obtain a certain level of success, when in fact that is not what you need to do to obtain notoriety, to obtain attention, to obtain any of those things. And so it is funny that you mentioned that, because if you go on Twitter for any period of time, it don't take you about 5 minutes down your timeline, and it's gonna hit you in your timeline. You're just like, wait, what is this? No, thank you. Let me unfollow. I don't want to see that. Or somebody who is unsaved or unchurched or de-churched is going to hit you in the inbox like, did you see such and such do this or that? So all of those things are happening as it pertains to the bros. And it's not something that you're proud of, but it is something that is happening.
Wow. Yep. But it also causes a lot of low self-esteem, because if this is not what my life looks like, and a lot of jealousy and envy, it brings a lot of that up. And so why is my life don't look like that? Or why I don't look like that? And there's a lot of body shaming that's going on there, because one of the things is, because there's a lot of anonymity on social media, I can say whatever I want to say, and there's no way that you can trace me. And we see the nastiness. Yes. It's like taking the scab off, and you see the nastiness of people, because I can say whatever I want to say without any consequences. You're not going to find me. Wow. And so it's a lot of cyberbullying, body shaming that goes on there. If you looked at one of the plus size models, they criticized her for being a plus size model. When she lost weight, they criticized her for losing weight. She couldn't win for losing. It just dings on. And when you see all of that, when you put something on social media and you're being bullied and put down, it hits, especially for women, it tears up their self-esteem.
Wow. I was looking at, we were talking earlier, and I was looking at an article that talked about the between men and women, which group is more affected by social media. And it's women, ages 18 to 45.
Because we're emotionally driven.
We are emotionally driven. So we struggle with the body image. We struggle with the love. So there are three things that women struggle with on social media. And that's the relational part of social media, because most women are single. So when they see other couples, it makes them feel some type of way, not enough, feeling like their life is over. The body image aspect, and then the success aspect, what success looks like. And so because there's so many different facets of what the success looks like, you have really the successful author that's clothed. She's not for the streets. She's about her business. And then you have the woman that is, she became an Instagram sensation overnight because she knew how to use the tools of Instagram to gain the followers. And now she's able to monetize and speak here and do this. And now you're a millionaire off of social media because it provided you an avenue for connections and another group. It opened you up to another group of people that you would not have been able to connect with if social media didn't exist. And so we have this mental breakdown in women. Can you speak to that? Because I know we have ladies that watch the show all the time. How does a woman 18 to 45 not subject themselves to the depression and the comparison that happen during social, while interacting on social media?
So there's a saying that, we have to look at ourselves and value ourselves and not compare ourselves, because we're not going to, God did not make us all together a monolithic. We're not the same people. We are created uniquely in our own self, and we have to be able to start appreciating us for who we are. And our success is not going to look like the other person. And that's okay. Because sometimes for some people, success is just being able to get out of bed because I'm so depressed. Or I'm so anxious, I got to face another day, or, whatever's going on in my society. And that's a success in itself. But we have to redefine what that is for yourself individually, and not about what the other person is saying or what they're doing or what they look like, because we're not going to ever look like that person. We're not supposed to.
Wow.
And so that's where we have to start being valued, and we have to start valuing ourselves as our own individual and our own uniqueness, and value what God has, he created us in his image. And that's what we have to start valuing.
This show was founded on the basis of Christianity, but there are a lot of people that have lost hope during COVID. Some have abandoned the faith. So when we speaking to those individuals where Christianity and faith and God is not their language anymore, how do people manage still that capacity? How do people manage? I want to say this in a way. How do people not allow the fallacy of social media to become reality?
I think.
Well, that's
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, I think the first thing you have to do, in my opinion, is you have to realize that whatever somebody else is posting, you can't verify.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's first and foremost. I can take a picture in front of a Bentley. It doesn't mean that I drive a Bentley. But when I post a picture and I say, man, I'm successful, it's this imagery. I think the first thing we have to do is we cannot, as Dr. Wilson just said, we cannot fault ourselves if we don't measure up to what we see. Because a lot of cases, what I've noticed, and DK hit it on it earlier, is you have a lot of people with no credibility, and there's nobody who can verify anything. Nothing has been conferred on them. Nothing has been done. And because of postings and likeness and popularity, we have made heroes, and nothing wrong to some degree, but we put our stock in people that can't hold their weight in real life. And it reminds me of growing up. I love to read, and I would read authors, and I would love authors who would write in pseudonyms. They would write in this other life form, and it would be mesmerizing. To me, social media, if you're not careful, is one big pseudonym.
That's good.
I think it's important. And Sister Wilson, you hit on it when you talked about the facade and the fact that we shouldn't be monolithic. We can be, as I like to say, we can be divergent in thought. We can operate as if there are two truths, right? And so what's happening is people think that this is the truth because it's visibly obtainable, unverified, unfiltered, right? And that seems to be the problem, is that we've lost our way from really trying to find truth, because the lie will do. The lie will absolutely do for us. And you think about, like, I got some single homies, they're single, and one of the things that they're absolutely tired of is these brothers that are inconsistent, and they tell them one thing and present another, right? And this is the fight that they have on a consistent basis. And that is, this person is presenting one thing and another, which brings up what I'm trying to build to, and that is the imposter syndrome.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And how much value we have put in inconsistency over the imposter, because we don't sit down long enough with people to really dig back the scales. Let me see you. So here's to that point. Here's what my wife told me before we got married, and it wrecked me. And I'm gonna share with y'all. She told me, it is impossible for you to love me when I can visibly see that you don't love yourself?
Wow.
Changed my life. So how can you say you want to marry me and all these things when I can see that there are things that you need to work on? So love you, and the stronger love you have for yourself would be the stronger love you have for me. And what she was saying was the imposter needs to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the full you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the internet has allowed for us to be. A lot of closet individuals playing the imposter game. You know, now in our circle, right, you got these preachers. I don't care. I can't see the chat, so it don't matter. And I ain't on nobody payroll but my own. We got these preachers.
My Lord.
Running around here. Fake, phony, prophesying, accepting offerings, and they are operating as imposters. And let me tell you, if you're going to operate under these auspices, one thing I know about a prophet and a preacher, the prophet is there to disrupt, a preacher is there to declare. And if you ain't there to do one of those things, then what you are doing is you're being a two-bit hustler. We have allowed the two-bit hustlers to take over pulpits and places of influence, and we have to win those back. Let me also add this, Sister Sharice, that you mentioned about how marketing, because we have to bring that up too when it comes to social media, how the impact of marketing on women. I took a class on the impact of marketing on women. I just wanted to see. And what that class taught me was this one thing. The color pink. Usually we associate the color pink with being a feminine color. They didn't start really, the color pink was usually used in the 1800s for small boys with blue eyes. Now, the social construct has changed.
Wow.
Now pink has turned and become a feminine color when really it started out as a man's
color. Wow.
Notice the switch, and notice they did this switch to sell more because they knew that pink was the color and it was more feminine, more light, and it would attract this type of. They did that as a marketing scheme to get more money. And the marketing scheme, to Ray's point, is not targeted. To your point, Sister Therese, Dr. Therese, is not targeted to these knucklehead boys. They're targeted and pointed to women. Now, I think we have to really explore that point. Why are we targeting marketing to women? I think it's right. I think I can probably sum it up for you. Because women hearts are attached to their pocketbooks.
Absolutely.
Do you think so?
That's what I know.
Yes.
Women are more emotional buyers. Men
Emotional buyers.
It's what I know.
Impulse.
It's what I know.
Emotional.
It's what I know.
Well, it's emotional.
Go ahead, sis. Go ahead, sis. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, we are emotional buyers. And
Yes.
so that's why, and emotions are temporary. So that's why it seems like it's impulsive.
Yes. So if you have a sister, let's just, I use church. I'm a part of church. You have a sister, she come in church, you give a testimony. She says, I can't pay my rent. 25 women going to stand up. They're not going to even ask the amount or where she stay. They're going to instantly reach in their pocketbook and start giving. When you go to stores, the stores are set up not to market to men. It's totally set up to market to the woman and to the particular size that they think and deem society worthy. And let me push the point even further than that. Not only is this for adults, they start the marketing for teenagers. And they begin to market from teenagers to young adults and so forth and so on. See, this is a good God. This is a social construct that has been created by these people of power.
Wow.
To control narratives.
Wow.
So here's a question to that, Dr. So how does that then in turn affect the person who doesn't fit that construct, like you're saying?
Yes.
Emotionally, I think that ties back to what you were saying, Dr. Wilson, about the depression and the feelings, because you show me this size, whatever they say this is, I'm not that. And then automatically I feel like something's wrong with me. And then tie it back into social media, that's all I'm seeing now.
Right.
So I want to piggyback before you answer that, because there's this guy that is booming in social media right now. His name is Kevin Samuels. I listen to him. I like Kevin. He says some good things, but there's one of the things that he does where he talks about women and dress size, and man, it gets heated. Women get heated because he's speaking to a class of women that are searching for and want to marry men that have money. He's not speaking to every woman. He's speaking to this particular group of women, right?
Right.
And he tells them, you want a man that can pay all the bills and you sit home, but this is what that man wants. He wants a woman that wears between a size 2 and a size 8, that is fit, feminine. He goes into this whole spiel. And so now, because of that, you have a bunch of women that are totally beating up on themselves because they don't fit the image of what's being painted through this wave. It's like a wave of men that's coming, and power to the men for speaking up. It's a wave of men that's coming on the social media that's saying, hey, women, you guys got us messed up. And now they're saying this is what we want. And then you have a lot of women that's not in that bracket. And so it's causing depression comparison. Like how do we, the question that Ray asked you, I just want to throw that out there so you can kind of add to that. And Pastor DK, you swiped your head, so maybe you have something to add to that too.
I'm going to defer to my sorrow first before I come.
Well, just like you were talking about earlier, Frat, is that you have a lot of gurus out here.
Sure.
That's all of a sudden they're these experts, and it's like, well, how are you speaking for all men? All men may not feel that way.
That's right.
But it's a very subtle verbal abuse. Psychological abuse.
Lord,
I'm beating you up. I'm eating you up because you may not be in I may not live with you. We may not be in a relationship, but we don't think of it as bullying or cyberbullying. We only think that's in the classrooms and the schools, and that is also happening in the workplace. It's also happening in social media. You're beating me up because I don't fit in your little box to say, hey, if you don't look like this, you're never going to get a man of this quality. And so it's a subtle way of I'm abusing you. It's an emotional abuse because I am verbally beating you down and saying you're not good enough. And so it does add on to the loneliness and the depression. And I'm steadily just trying to find, where do I fit in this social media world? And so then we get into this big phenomenon we haven't touched on, is the fear of missing out. FOMO. I am constantly, where do I fit in? I'm constantly just in here. I'm feeling lonely. And this is my way. I almost substitute real relationships with these virtual relationships. Who on here is going to accept me?
Wow.
Because, we are part of our environment. We don't just eat food. We eat our environment. And if social media becomes our environment, we're taking all that in too. And so you got a lot of emotionally hurt people. And I'm sitting here believing in this. So it's just like being in a verbal abusive relationship. You telling me all these things that why I'm not good enough because you're this, you look like that, you dress like this, you don't take care of yourself the way you're supposed to take care of yourself. And so you're not good enough. And so it's a subtle way. It may not be in your face personally, but it's a subtle way of abusing a group of women that is not true at all.
I agree with that 100%. I love when you said eating our environment. My God, today you almost made me flip over my chair while I was sitting in it. said, bless me so good. So watch this. The Kevin Samuel people, some stuff I hear, I understand, but I totally support what Sister Wilson is saying and how this tears away at the fabric of who people really are. But here's the little underlying issue with people like him. They use two tactics that are subtle, but yet really good.
Mm.
The first one they use is distortion.
Mm-hmm.
They distort messaging. They give off certain information that potentially could be founded but not rooted. They have all of these other conversations that don't really make sense, but yet it's good for TV. Distortion. So what happens when distortion goes unchecked? Manipulation. Now I can manipulate you to think that this is what somebody like DK or Ray or whoever kind of man want. When really what we're looking for is, let me not say that on here because it's too many church folk. What we're looking for, yeah, we're looking for Rahab and not Ruth.
Mm.
Great cleanup.
So
That's good.
So when
Read your Bible to find out who Rahab is.
I mean, just go read your Bible and you can see the type of individual that Rahab. And let me say this while I go on that little tangent. You understand Rahab's name is mentioned in 2 testaments.
Mm.
And she's related to the person you like to call on.
Mm.
And yet they called her a woman of the night. She could keep a secret at night and people at night safe. And that's why you would kind of roll to that person. Whereas the facaded person, the imposter syndrome person, the person who's been groomed by Naomi, the person who's laid at the threshing floor to try to get a man while other people were trying to get the same man, the person who was trying to sneak in the man's house in the middle of the night, that's kind of stalkerish, but that was true. That type of person operates differently. Distortion that goes unchecked leads to manipulation. And the last thing is, if you have those 2 perfect combinations, people like Kevin Samuel can control you.
Wow.
Can I push back on that? And I think I've never heard of Kevin Samuel, so I don't. But
when you get a chance, Ray, go check him out.
I was gonna say something about his affiliations, but I respect Bishop way too much. But continue.
I'm gonna say what I think feeds what you're talking about is that whether we want to admit it or not, social media has become a drug.
Yes.
Yes. It is addicting.
And people spend hours and hours and hours.
So here's some crazy numbers for you that's gonna make you think. They say the average person spends a minimum of 145 minutes a day on social media. They said last year there are over 3.6 billion people with access to social media. Mind you, the world population is only like 7-some billion people. So almost half of the people in the world are on their device, and I think the 145 minutes is too low. In my personal opinion.
That's definitely low.
I believe that the amount of time that is spent on social media by an individual, if repurposed, reclaim your time, and redirect that time to being creative and or writing and or focus on whatever goal that you have, will then eliminate or decrease the depression and the anxiety and the not feeling like you're not enough because you're now operating in purpose. So on the flip side of that, where we talk about depression and how social media brings you down, if you're operating something that we say in pharmacy or in medicine, if you're operating at the top of your license, or if you're operating at the top of your potential and your God-given gift or talent, then social media becomes a more of an inspiration, more of a driving, force or conduit to help you achieve what you're trying to do. So like, but it takes someone to know what it is that they're supposed to do. The problem is a lot of people don't know. They're using social media to say, hey, okay, she did it, I want to do it. And expect for it to happen overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss out.
No, that FOMO is definitely a real thing. So I want to play advocate here. So what if a person is using social media because this is how they make their money? Are they subject to the same premise that we're creating when they're using social media to make ends meet, to make connections, to network, etc.? Or to your point, Dr. Sharice, are they using and repurposing and repackaging this time here to monetize and use it for other things later? How do you feel about that framework? If somebody's using it for their benefit, should they stay on there longer? Does it impact them differently, etc.?
Well, I do believe that, okay, social media is a way for people to make money.
Sure.
I also believe that there are not a lot of people I know there are not a lot of people on social media that are monetizing.
Correct.
It may appear that they are just because they have a lot of followers, but they are not. So I had to learn that because I was doing, like Ray had to do some numbers for another another podcast that I do.
Sure.
And so understanding that people that are monetizing off of social media have to be on there a significant amount of time and post a significant amount of times in order to reach the target amount of likes and views to get what they need. So it's important that they stay in the forefront.
Sure.
What I've also discovered about those people is because they're so busy on working on the content for the next post, they don't have time to do a lot of scrolling to see what's happening. And they tend to follow little to no people to minimize distractions. Now, for those people that are on social media to get the likes to get there, or your guru, I believe that to some degree, it becomes, depending on what market they're in, it becomes competitive.
Sure.
Still leads to comparison, and I would dare to say that they're still operating in some form of envy, depression, something of that nature. But people that are highly, highly, highly successful doing social media, normally they don't follow a lot of people. And it's sad not to do that because it does decrease distractions. But peep this out. People that are also very successful on social media have private accounts with just friends only. So Instagram has something, I think it's called Finagram or Finstagram, correct. And so it's private. And so celebrities have it because, they just post half the time. It's not even them posting, someone posting for them. And so, but that Finstagram, it keeps a close circle so that they don't get distracted and begin to compare. And it was originally created for that intent. So I believe, going back to your question, that someone that is extremely busy uses social media to make money, oftentimes not checking to see what I'm doing. But the people that are trying to find their way still don't know, but you got a couple thousand, 20,000, 40,000 followers, you're probably still depressed too.
Sure.
Well, and the most important thing is, what are they doing after their work? So if that's your business, what are you doing after you do all your posting and all of that? What do you do afterwards? So where is your right? And even after at some point you have to have some kind of life balance.
Right.
So when you step away from that screen and say, okay, I got my content, I did my job on the internet, if that's where my my work is, that's my craft, that's my talent. But then what do I do afterwards? How do I live life and not, because I don't want to live to work. I want to be able to work to live. So
Absolutely.
the other question is, what are they doing afterwards, after they finish?
To help with their mental.
Absolutely. Because if you don't have balance.
And I think that, Dr. Wilson, what you just said is key. I think the issue that really comes out of all of this is lack of balance.
Absolutely.
Whether I work for social media or whether social media is my outlet,
for me, right?
It's almost like I have hypertension. It is a horrible balance of salt. And I think the same thing happens about social media. So I think what you hit on is perfect. It has to be a balance. And here's the truth. Each person's balance or threshold is different. So I have to be honest with myself first to know I'm going too far into this and I need to retreat. And the danger is because it's so addicting, and because now you can look at something online and now it pops up in your feed. It's this proverbial cycle to keep you looped in.
Wow.
Which goes back to what you said. Okay, it's not, and I love it, but if we be completely honest, it is a subtle form of manipulation.
Wow.
I saw something that was amazing. Is a series on Netflix that talked about Facebook and social media. And I forget the name of it, but they talked about how they don't market products anymore. They market individuals.
Correct.
I get you hooked, and so all day you see the same thing, and I'm slowly telling you, I'm programming you to know what you want. Let's make it even more palatable. The 45th president won, and it was crazy. Is Brad Paschal, after Trump won, went on these news cycles talking about how they were intentional in targeting their ads to certain demographics, and that's all you saw. So it's a slow form of, I'm now, instead of like you're saying, Dr. Wilson, I have a balance, or I'm going there to work, or I know to back off. Now I'm allowing another program to tell me how to live. And here's my only danger, and I digress. What good is it to neglect the people in your house that you see, to talk to people that you'll never meet?
Wow.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because I can tell you now, I do see couples, I see couples and I see marriage couples. And I can tell you probably 9 times out of 10, social media is going to come in when it's going to come up in that session.
One of the topics. Yeah.
Because either somebody is constantly, we don't talk because you're constantly on your phone strolling. I have people that say they can't sleep. So what do? They go strolling on social media 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. But social media is going to come up in that conversation.
I think we bring up some interesting things as I sat back and listened when I posed this question and created the framework. The power of groupthink, and it's also its negative impact on those who are connected to social media, right? I can control, potentially, if I know how to work an algorithm, I can control what you say, think, and do for a period of time. When we buy social media ads on Facebook, that's what you're asking for. Facebook, here's my money. Control this ad and put it in the reach of those that need to see it. That's what we're asking for when we do that. Now, and we all willingly participate in Facebook ads at some form or another, right? So what does those ads present us? It presents us 2 things, and I was intentional about this one. Access and connection. What we really want is what God has already provided. And so we have changed this connection now and put a demigod in the very places that God needs to be in. Now, last time I looked in the Bible and they took the Ark of the Covenant and they put it next to a fish god, when they walked out the room, they cut off the hands, the feet, everything was cut off, but that Ark of the Covenant was still standing.
Yeah.
Access didn't change. It's the connection. It's the relationship that changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're wired to be. We're wired to want and desire connection.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. And so when we don't get it, what do? We take matters into our own hands. And we go on social media. What are we trying to find? Access, connection. When last time I checked, God can provide all of that if you seek him first. That's the last time I checked. But many of these people, they aren't seeking that. What they are seeking through FOMO is the value of access and connection. And what to that point, through imposter syndrome, they want to create a level of importance.
Mm-hmm.
They want to create this facade that I'm really important. Kevin Samuels wears a really nice suit. I mean, they cut to perfection.
I mean, cut to
But they cut to perfection.
my Lord, the pale and all.
I mean, you can tell he went somewhere and he paid good top dollar for that suit. Now, that suit and that message leads us to where? Control.
Yeah.
He dressed up really good, but the
Like
product is bad. The product is bad. He says great things sometimes, but then he destroys people all the time. And so we could easily take it from Kevin Samuels to Derrick Jackson. He sat his wife on TV. Come on, y'all talk to me now. He sat his wife on TV. Clutched her hand.
He did. Tight. Yes, sir.
Folks is asking, baby, can you blink?
My Lord.
Right? And he used her.
He did as a pawn.
As a pawn.
Yes, he did.
To sell a book, to create a narrative that black men don't cheat. Now, if you would have just kept that thing in your drawers,
my Lord,
we wouldn't be here. If you would fix that messaging that you had that would be inclusive versus exclusive, we wouldn't be here. Watch this. If you wouldn't celebrate and worship a toxic God, we probably wouldn't be here.
Wow.
And I'm done.
So here's my question, if I can ask.
Go ahead, bro.
I think that everyone is bringing this relevant point. Let me ask the tough question in 2 minutes because we got 6 minutes left.
Go ahead.
How do we as the church, realistically, in a season where everybody's not going to return to a building for a myriad of reasons, how do we then as the church provide a healthy alternative so that we don't become the Kevin Samuels with collars? And I say that because previously, it is what it is, and you hit on the early DK, there's so much perversion and manipulation in the pulpit that it has translated over now to social media. So if I get on your live, I'm berated to feel like I have to sow a seed. And if I cannot sow the seed, there's something inadequate, when the reality is I'm blessed because I'm God's. So I think the question that we have to raise, and here's a relevant question for me as I digress, is how do we as a church make sure that we offer the messaging of Christ through the means? I do realize and I do believe that social media is a means and is a tool. I do not think it is the only tool.
Right.
But it is a tool to get the message out, to make sure we don't in turn create the same abuse that we're seeing, so that we don't create a cycle where the abuser has changed, but the person being abused is still being traumatically affected.
Wow.
That's good. I'll tackle it.
That's good.
Here, the first thing is we have to get back to speaking truth to power. No more of this. People don't want to be tied into stuff that is based on nothingness. They want to be tied into something that will keep them rooted and connected in koinonia. That's what people want, right? And they want to be connected. What I found out with church folks is, as much as we're away from the church, we really miss our hugs and our elbows and our fist bumps and our looking across the room like you hear pastor say that. We really miss that level of interaction that unfortunately social media can't provide. You can't have enough claps, hearts, thumbs up, none of that stuff. It's nothing like showing up to the community house.
Getting that energy. And
that energy. And watch this to that point, because that creates synergy. Could it be that we have been living, we need the synergy, and the synergy became our drug. And God said, wait, I'm not in none of that. So when you come back in here, you're going to have your mind right on truth to power. You're going to be focused on koinonia. You're going to be trying to create that in-house synergy. And then now the church can be deployed properly, both technologically and theologically. Because we didn't at first, Ray, we didn't want both.
You're right. We talked about those who did it.
We didn't want both. We only just want preachers, and this is for the arrogant preachers that think that only your word is the only word that's going across. Let me help you. Because you struggled in this season because of your pride. Your pride led you to struggle.
My Lord.
Said, just simply turn on the camera and adjust yourself so that people can still feel that koinonia that they once felt before. And now we're getting to the place where we want to come back. They want to come back. I know they want to come back. But here's the question that I learned this week in coming back. Do we got the right focus? And are we focusing on the right people when we come back?
Wow.
Because many of us, see, Ray, I did a survey. You was on the call. I did a whole survey. I asked questions. And I found out who needs the church more than anybody. And I'll share it. I hope I don't get in trouble, but I'll share it. It was the youth.
Absolutely. Wow. Yep.
It wasn't you grown folks, you old people that know Jesus like that. It was the youth.
Yes, sir.
Why is that important, Ray? Because if we read scripture, usually it's the youth that sparks revival. And that's what's going to change.
Wow. Listen, I am so grateful to have you guys on. You know, Bishop is not here. He's coming in and out. He's coming and say, "Hey, Bishop, we miss you." But this relationship, Lord, this relationship has been very, very rich, and I believe that we need to continue to have more conversations like this because it's real. And a lot of people believe that social media is reality and it's damaging their self-esteem, relationships. It's really putting people in a dark place. People are doing all kinds of things, surgeries. They're hurting their bodies, going to ill doctors that have no clue of what they're doing just to have a certain look to be accepted. You know, there's a lot of abandonment and rejection that needs to be dealt with.
Right.
And these conversations need to continue. So I am so grateful that you guys joined us again. Hopefully you guys can come back because Pastor DK, you was on it. You was hitting on the topics. And Dr. Wilson, of course, you brought some grace and style and expertise to this entire segment. Ray, my man. Always appreciative for you getting on and being my co-host and making us think differently and out of the box, which is what you always do. Guys, it has been NightCap. Next week, what are we talking about, Ray?
So next week, Bishop is back.
He is.
And here's what I know. Here's the truth. I'll be honest enough to remember, I don't remember exactly what you're talking about, But I do know this: whenever you and Bishop come together, that's explosive. Anything can happen.
I always miss my Bishop. And so we're still dealing with social media. We're still going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it from a leadership perspective. So we have Pastor Cheatham and Lady Cheatham on next week. We're going to talk about leadership and faith as it relates to young adults in this time. So next week, you don't want to miss it. Tune in 9:30 Wednesday. We want to see you liking, sharing, all that good stuff. Anybody have any final words before we close out?
I do. I'll say this. One, thank you so much for having me on with you tonight. It's been amazing to be on this side of the camera. I'll say this. When we talk about social media and we talk about mental health, let me dispel the myth. You need a therapist.
Hallelujah.
When things are good, you need a therapist.
Hallelujah.
When things are rough, you need a therapist. Let's get rid of the concept that the only time you talk to someone is when you're in crisis.
Hallelujah.
I have two.
Great. Can I add to that? Thank y'all for first dealing with me. I know I'm a bit nuts and passionate. I appreciate it so much. But I'm going to offer some reading. I always either like to give a quote or give us a book. One of the classes that I did, this is one of the books, Packaging Girlhood. Packaging Girlhood. Packaging Girlhood, Rescuing Our Daughters from the Marketer's Scheme. Excellent read, plays into what we're talking about. And then another one for young ladies as well, Girl Talk, God Talk. Why Faith Matters for Girls. These texts have been, I have other texts for young ladies in my class, but these texts have been extremely enriching. I think every brother under the sound of my voice should take a class about women and the way that they think and the way that they've been marketed to. It would help you in terms of buying gifts. Hallelujah. It would help you in terms of intimacy. It will help you in a lot of different areas. So thank y'all. Thank Bishop. Bishop has been giving me some excellent opportunities. Ray, thank you for putting up with me as always. And I appreciate the opportunity for real, y'all. Thank y'all so much.
Yes, thank you for inviting me tonight. It was great. It was a great opportunity. And Ray, it was good seeing you again.
Always.
Yes. Nice meeting you, Fred. Nice meeting you, Dr. Cherise.
Nice you too, Doc.
Yes, appreciate it. It was great.
Listen, you guys have to come back. You got to come back. And so we'll schedule time for you to come back because we have to continue this conversation.
Definitely.
And we need that same energy. Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, it's been Nightcap. My partner's not here for me to do the dance, so I'm going to do it myself. Ready?
Ready? Here we go.
No, you can do it. Bye, guys.